Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into Fantasy Football University, FFU. Late
FFU.
FFU indeed, coming to you again in the off season, continuing our series on the draft recap, on the early looks at the divisions, and then we got a little mock draft action for you guys later on. I am
A
Mr. Bildacoustas.
special, a special mock draft today.
A special mock draft. I'm Mr. Bildacoustas. I'm here with Mr. Tom Lang. How you doing, Mr. Lang?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful. I'm excited for our special mock draft today. It's gonna be fun.
Very, very special. So let's jump right into it. We'll start off with, as we always do, with some news from around the league. And there's not too much to talk about, although some of the information is pretty funny. So, I mean, the Aaron Rodgers saga continues. If I had to pull out every little bullet point about what's discussed in the media, about what he says, what he doesn't say, et cetera, et cetera. So the point is he's still not signed with Pittsburgh, and I'd like to yet again say I don't think he's going to play. You think he will,
I
right?
I still think he's gonna play.
Okay. Okay. Um, Everything that we think about the Pittsburgh offense basically hinges on him playing because if not, Mason Rudolph is going to be bad. So let's
I
hope
mean, he
that.
had a couple good games until he got smacked in the face by Myles Garrett with a helmet.
Do you think that's what he's going to be best known for, that incident?
He is the helmet. He is the helmet to face guy.
I suppose. Who was the guy who took over for him after he went down after that?
It was
Who's the guy?
well
He had like a
it,
nickname. It was like a duck something.
oh
You know who I'm talking about.
yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah,
It's
Duck
like
Hodges. Duck
Duck
Hodges.
Hodges. I thought it was
Yeah.
Duck Dynasty, but I guess his name is Duck Hodges. Okay.
Last name is definitely not Dynasty.
It's Duck Dynasty playing quarterback for the Steelers. Yeah, so it's going to be bad if Mason Rudolph has to take off, has to be the starter. Other little fun notes here. So it's confirmed Saquon Barkley is going to be on the cover of Madden, and he's going to be
Doing
doing
his
it,
doing his backwards jump.
which
I feel bad for the Jacksonville Jaguars player that had to be is like now gonna have to live through that for the rest of his life.
I thought it was the Ravens that did that. Like
No, it's the Jaguars. He
whichever
jumped over. Yeah.
whichever one. But the thing about it is that they couldn't just take a picture of when it happened in the play. Like we've got a million HD cameras, whatever. No, no, no. He had to go into a studio and recreate the jump.
Yeah, and so so they were talking about him and he was like, now I feel like really really sorry or I'm really impressed with these superheroes and all that stuff when they do these movies. They literally had him like hanging from a raft, like the string hanging from a rafter pulled him up so they could take those shots and then release him down. Like it was pretty funny.
It is pretty funny. Well, I guess does that mean he's getting injured this year or
No, I think he's good. I think he's good. Maybe like an extra fumble potentially, but I think he's good.
we'll get into this when we get into tiers later on, you and I when we do some of our tiers shows, but just running backs, and we've been alluding to it. You don't see Saquon in the same tier with anybody else. You see Saquon as a clear alone tier one. No argument that he shouldn't be taken number one, or I didn't quite get your opinion on that.
No, I mean I spoke about this early on, especially as the season ended and they won the Super Bowl. That I still believe that he is pretty much the clear-cut person. I mean, obviously, people can make, people can argue it and say like, Jahmyr Gibbs and also
Bijan.
Bijan are, obviously in that same tier. I mean, it's not going to be a problem if somebody drafts them, but I believe that the value of the offense of play for the Eagles it's just only gonna get better next year, especially if they kind of focus on throwing the ball a little bit more. I think that's going to open the field a little bit better for Saquon. That's the biggest thing is having a great offensive line and then having two really stud wide receivers is really just only going to make it, a 5 to 6 men in the box experience for Saquon. And I mean, you need
Yeah.
more than that to stop him.
He doesn't, and they're in a position where, like, he doesn't have to do everything that he did last year and still finishes the running back one.
Right.
Um,
It's also going to
which,
keep him healthy for the season.
right, or we hope so anyway. So Madden curse notwithstanding,
I don't think
he's
the
gonna.
Madden curse really is so much as a thing anymore because
It's
it
not. It never
it hasn't
was.
been such a thing. It's some players, I mean outside of Christian McCaffrey, but some players have really made the full season and made it actually to the Super Bowl after being on the cover.
Do you remember when all that started? It was the main one that started the conversation was the Peyton Hillis thing, if
Oh
you
yeah,
remember,
that was rough. Yeah, I
because he
mean
had
that ended
what
his career.
basically, yeah. So all systems go for Saquon. We'll have fun little debates about whether or not he does deserve to have anybody in his tier. I guess we'll get to that farther on in the offseason. The only other bit of news I have here is the Stephon Diggs saga situation going on.
Ugh.
So it's more than just a pupless thing. Apparently, we've got a boat situation. So what are your
Oh, wide receivers.
wide receivers in their boats, man? So what are your thoughts on all this?
Honestly, I haven't done too much digging into it. I really don't care about Stephon Diggs. I don't believe he's a fantasy relevant value next year. So
You're out of your mind. If he was going to be fine and playing from the beginning, he was going to be a target machine for Drake May.
I just I like him better in I like him honestly better in the Texans uniform.
Well, presumably a better offense, a better quarterback, etc. But he's going to get peppered with targets in New England.
Again, I made it
Who else
clear.
is getting targets in New England?
I Hunter Henry
Bijan
is a
Booty.
target. Hunter Henry's a target monster. I mean, but I don't know. I just don't see it. I don't think it's a great fit, and I honestly think that he's not going to be on the roster for a long period of time if he is that in the ear of a second year quarterback wide receiver. I mean, it's not going to cut it for the coaching system out there.
Well, given the
When have
situation,
you ever seen that guy just not talk?
well, it doesn't help the boat thing now. We have yet to hear whatever repercussions, quote unquote, are going to happen because of that. But to suggest that if he was going to be playing, he was not going to be a fantasy relevant player, I think that's a bridge too far or a boat too far. Um, it's like again, Hunter Henry, if that's the competition for
That ship
targets
has
there,
sailed for me.
very good. We're gonna have an endless amount of puns with that leading into the offseason. Any other news come across your desk?
Yeah, Bryce Huff. I mean, this is a defensive trade, but the Philadelphia Eagles have traded Bryce Huff, linebacker, over to the 49ers. It's finalized for some picks, future round draft picks. 49ers obviously lost some key talents on their defense, so this does really help, not significantly, but I mean, it helps what they've lost. Um, our our boy Kyle Pitts, the Falcons are being cautious with him this year. So finally they've caught on that, Kyle Pitts is the problem over there.
Oh, that's what it is. They didn't pick up his the fifth whatever it was, or they didn't
Yeah,
extend
his
him.
his
Yeah,
his next his whatever
yeah.
extension.
I mean, man,
Frank,
what a waste.
yeah, I mean he's a great talent, but he hasn't shown in the NFL. Frank Ragnow, he has surprisingly announced his retirement. He basically was the big offensive lineman for
That's right, Indianapolis.
Detroit Lions. So that's actually a
No, he
fairly
was
large loss.
Indianapolis.
No, he's Detroit Lions. Um,
Oh, I apologize. I mixed him up with. I apologize. You're right. You're right.
yeah, no, but he is, very that's a big loss this late in the offseason. I don't know. I mean, I'm a little, I'm not saying there's a hesitation, but I mean, you lose your center.
Sure.
That's one of the most vocal points of the offensive line. And yes, the Philadelphia Eagles did it when they lost Kelsey, but
And won a Super Bowl.
yeah, they did. But I don't know. It was definitely a surprising announcement with that. And just I think one more thing I just wanted to talk real quick about, and this is actually I do believe this is super fantasy relevant because this player is so underwhelming in drafts, but he performs greater, every single season. It's Mr. 50 Cent Brian Robinson. Um, this guy is playing. He's focused on his next contract. So basically, he's entering his contract year.
Right.
I think for a player that is being drafted atypically in normal drafts, sixth, seventh, eighth round, as a starting running back, yes, is there talent behind him that kind of takes him off the field somewhat? But a guy that
I
is a
agree. I agree
hard
with you
runner,
so much.
touchdown scorer, and potentially touches the ball 60% of the time when he's on that field, I think that he's due for a massive, massive year.
I
Um,
could not agree with you more. And we should
so yeah,
and we're gonna get into this a little bit in the off season. We're gonna have like an episode where we just talk about guys in the contract year. And it's again, everybody's professional. They're all working as hard as they can. But I mean, let's be logical. In contract years, players tend to perform a whole lot better when they're
yep,
looking to go get the bag,
yep.
or when their thing's about to expire, et cetera, right at that cusp. So that's a very, very important key point. And I echo your sentiments. I wanted to just mention on the Frank Ragnow news, um, consider Detroit now. Okay, so they lost Ben Johnson, and they also lost Ben Johnson, like the Ben Johnson's underling. So like the offensive coordinator and the backup offensive coordinator, for lack of a better word, they both left Detroit. Additionally, that Frank Ragnow retiring. Um, they did try to address in the draft some offensive line and some on defense, but it's basically kind of par for the course. We're going to see Detroit being good, but probably not as good as they were last year. I mean, at least offensively. Are we
I
wrong?
don't I mean I think they'll find a piece that really fits that, but
You
honestly, I don't
think?
think it's they're going to be hurt from it from the beginning slightly, but I think that they'll prevail. You know, 2, 3 games in, it might be a little rough, but after
Maybe
that,
right.
they'll prevail through. I mean, they're still an explosive roster. There's no reason for them not to be able to put up, at least 20 plus points per week, which is great for fantasy.
Okay. It remains to be seen. We talk
The
about that.
last two, real quick, and these
Sure.
we don't really have to discuss as full, but Rashee Rice is full go at actually OTAs. But again, you got to remember he is going to be
Right.
potentially facing a 4 game suspension. So beware of buyers with him. And then also DJ Moore is embracing new coach culture. So obviously, having a offensive mind coach DJ Moore, he's underdrafted in some positions. He could be a high value target this year for Caleb Williams.
I agree with the narrative street part of it. Green lights there, but I just want to say we're going to make a policy on this
Coach
podcast
talk.
to like so not comment on coach speak as a relevant, you know, bolster of an argument.
That's not coach speak. That's coming from the horse's mouth, DJ Moore.
All right. It's part of the same carousel of like everybody's going to say these kinds of things. Come on. We should care when they don't say that kind of stuff. Like if they have bad vibes coming out. But yeah. All right. Ready for some NFC North?
Let's get it.
Or sorry, NFC South. NFC South. Ready for some NFC South?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's get it.
NFC South. So yeah, like we do with every other division, we'll comment on the teams in reverse in the order in which they finished from the prior year. No surprise, last year's finisher, the Bucs, and their draft was very interesting. I was personally unhappy with their draft. I'm a gigantic fan of Jalen McMillions, my absolute favorite fantasy player from last year, and essentially, I don't want to say it's completely been, just thrown away, but with a first round pick of a wide receiver in an already filled up wide receiver room, it's not looking good. But he's a super talented guy, the guy they drafted, wide receiver Mika Ekbuka from Ohio State, from Wide Receiver University. Um, Really amazing player. He's going to complement the other players in that room. And I mean, if nothing else, this is just going to be amazing for Baker Mayfield. He's got four legitimate number one wide receivers now, basically.
Well, it also shows that the aging process of Mr.
Like
Mike
it.
Mike Evans is happening. So
Right. I mean, we called it out. I think this is the end of Mike Evans, basically.
I think he's relevant, but he's not your wide receiver, one wide receiver. He's gonna finish off as a low or middle grade. All right, maybe a high grade wide receiver two, but you're drafting him as your wide receiver one right now. So
Oh, I don't know that. I'll have to check
he's going in the
on.
second round.
He's not going the second round. Here,
On
punt
set,
it.
he's going at the turn. He's going at the turn.
Okay, I'll have to see which. I don't remember what wide receiver he was going as. We could check that while we're talking about it. But either way, regardless of what he is, both you and I are both bearish on him. So lower than consensus. He probably won't be on any of our teams. Um, Well, other than Emeka Ebuka, the Buccaneers essentially did exactly what they should have done. They went the rest of the entire draft going defense because the Bucs
Yep.
defense was not that good last year. If they want to start competing for championships, they'll need it. And it's funny they kind of went seventh round wide receiver. I don't really care about that. So the way I see this, like in 6 point passing touchdown leagues, I am so in on Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
Even at what his cost is, he's gonna be great. And the best thing is when you get the requisite couple of game injuries from Mike Evans or Godwin's going to be coming back. He's got all these guys to help step up in the situation. All right, I want it on I want it on record from you with the Bucks here. So I know how you feel about Chris Godwin, but he is going to take a little while to get going. Who is the who has the most receptions for Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2025?
Chris Godwin.
You think it?
Even with the slow-ish start, I think he's going to finish off the best the best of the pack over there.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
How many
there's no question about that for me.
how many Buccaneers receivers finish in the top 36?
That's a tough question. Maybe just one. I think
One.
maybe one, possibly two. Um, I think with touchdowns, Mike Evans squeaks his way in. Um, like I said, I think he's going to be a relevant wide receiver two option, which kind of brings him in the like 17th, 18th, 19th finishing. So maybe he does. I mean, based on what I just said.
Mhm.
But I don't know. I mean, he's a wide receiver two on a bad team, I think. A team that's not making the playoffs.
Which team?
I'm saying a team that's not making the
Yeah,
playoffs
which team are you talking about?
in fantasy football. If you draft him and he's your wide receiver two, you're not making the playoffs with him as your wide receiver two.
Okay, yeah, but I love how you're logicking in. How many Tampa Bay Bucks wide receivers finish in the top 36?
Two,
Okay, and those two are Chris Godwin and Mike Evans.
correct.
Okay,
In that order.
I 100% think either McMillions or Ebkuka, never pronouncing his name right, sneak into the top 36.
Okay,
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay. Feel free.
Unless injury,
Go
bearing
ahead,
injury.
Doug.
We're just playing like as there's no injuries. This is what's happening. That's how I could see it happening.
Okay. Believe what you believe. We'll see about. I listen. Funniness aside, I still don't think this is the end of Jalen McMillions. If anything, maybe his draft stock has just been completely gone down because of the news. Um, Maybe his long-term prospects aren't so good, but he just performed too well at the end of last year. Maybe I'm wishful thinking on him, but remains to be seen. We'll see how
I
it
think
goes. I
he's
know how you
just
feel.
I think he's just the bearer of people being absent from the roster.
Okay. And well, then Kate Otten was still there, and then he stopped performing the second that McMillions took over. But
Got people that step up, man.
whatever you say. All right. Let's go on to the Falcons. So this for the Falcons, I actually love their draft. The Falcons basically went entirely defense, and with both of their first round picks, they went defense. First round pick 15, Jalen Walker out of Georgia, unbelievable linebacker. And the 26th pick in the draft, they get James Pierce out of Tennessee. Both edge rusher, both amazing players. Third round safety, fourth round safety, and then they go tackle at the end. What are the Falcons? We say it all the time. So when team goes all defense or primarily defense, especially with their top picks, they're telling you we liked what we did. We're bolstering what we did last year. We want to improve upon that, and we want to appropriate elsewhere, at least our offensive weapons. So we got Michael Penix coming into his second year in Atlanta. So
Excuse me, it's Michael Penn 15.
Michael Penn 15 coming into his second year in Atlanta. And this is one of the reasons why I have Bijan as my number one running back. Atlanta looked like they were like Bijan looked great with Penix at the helm. Um, they look like they way more competent than Kirk was. And they've everything that they've done in their offseason, everything they've done in their draft is bolstering their defense and their O line and stuff. Like it to me, this is all good vibes for Bijan. I know you may or may not see him over Saquon, but this is what the Falcons did. So, are you encouraged by what the Falcons did from the existing weapons perspective?
Yeah. But I will say, I mean, there's just not a lot of like big names on, your wide receivers over there. I think the problem is, Drake London is a great talent, but it just can't be him. Obviously, you got Darnell Mooney over there. Darnell Mooney had a nice connection with Kirky. Kirky and the Kirk bunch is not going to be quarterback there anymore.
How do you call
Um,
him that?
I don't know, but so I don't
Disrespect the name of Captain Kirk.
I think it's to be seen of what we're gonna have to see what happens with that. But um I just don't know if they put enough talent around on the receiving core to actually make him, super, super ready to go year two relevant. I think it's gonna lean obviously towards the running game,
Right.
more of like kind of like a 60-40 element. Yeah, maybe 65-35. But uh, but looking at if you're looking at from that perspective, I think that if you're drafting Bijan, you really still need to draft Tyler Algier. Um, he is a great handcuff, number one, but he doesn't have the same relevance as like, Gibbs and Montgomery, that kind of element. But he's gonna take some touchdowns from, Bijan on the goal line. He's going to steal some carries from him as well too. And it happens every year. And maybe this is a season it doesn't. Maybe this is a season that they go, "Hey, Bijan, it's your team, run with it." Um,
I, I
but
I I agree with what you're saying, but I'm just going to assume that the amount of volume that's about to come Bijan's way is going to be so much anyway to overcome any vulturing or anything like that. Not to mention, I could make the same argument about Saquon. I mean, but with Jalen Hurts, that's like Jalen Hurts vultures at least 10 touchdowns.
yeah, but it's not enough to make you be like, "Oh, Saquon is not the number one, draft pick overall."
I mean, we're now at this point, we're like splitting hairs. I think, you know what I mean? It's not like I'm going to be unhappy if I had
Yeah, I
Saquon.
mean, you can't be unhappy. The dude is going to run for 2,000 yards and catch probably 500 yards reception.
I think
He's
that's
going
a
to
bit.
have 2,500 all-purpose yards.
We'll get into that disagreement when we talk about tiers. I do agree with you. I do agree with you overall, though, about the Falcons. Drake London, he's still going as a pretty high wide receiver. And I think, I mean, you and I both mentioned it, where he's currently placed in ADP, we think is about right. It's about right. Um,
I think personally, he's going a little ahead of
you
where
think?
my comfort of drafting him is.
I wouldn't be crazy about it. I mean, his upside is capped. I mean, unless, Penn 15 exceeds all of our expectations this year, which he probably we should be rightfully like, hey, he's good. Give him time to develop. We should have that thing.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, let's call it like it is. They got a good O line. They're gonna have a much improved defense. He's got two great wide weapons on the outside, a great backfield. I mean, he's set up for success here. I actually
And he's
uh,
got Mr. Pitts on the outside as well too, who can't catch a ball.
We'll get into this. We'll get into this. We'll talk about the Panthers just a moment. I have this is going to be a really competitive division this coming year with
Yeah, I think so.
with three teams anyway.
Yeah, one team is just tanking it for their good old quarterback next year.
Yeah, so we feel improvements too about the Panthers. So let's get into the Panthers. Carol, first of all, before I even mention the Panthers, who do you have winning this division? Uh,
Oof.
put you on the spot.
So the past 2 years has been a battle between. I won't even put the Saints in it because the Saints kind of like have been injured past 2 years on and off.
Mhm.
It's always the past 2 years. It's been Tampa Bay and Atlanta, kind of battling it back and forth. Um, I think I think that it's going to be a three-way beat up, and the Panthers are gonna find their way into it as well too. Um, so I really hope a team finishes over 500 to win the division. Um, it is obviously a very competitive division now. It kind of reminds me of the NFC East back a couple years ago when teams would finish just under 500 or just slightly above 500, make it to the playoffs. Giants went to the Super Bowl at 9-7, won the Super Bowl. Um, just, little pointer there. Um, but I think the Panthers really started rejuvenating after that bye week, and I think that Young has really taken a really solid role there as a leader. And having Andy Dalton back there, kind of coaching up slightly, that Red Rifle has really helped out the quarterback play in that offense.
I can see if I had to predict now, I would say I can see the Panthers being much more competitive. Um, they'll be in the mix, but I think the Bucs and Falcons are going to be duking it out. I think they're going to be fighting for like 11-6, 10-7, and who gets the
Well, yeah,
division.
I mean, and
They
now
both might make the playoffs.
I mean, a couple weeks ago we were talking about five running backs. Now there's only three running backs. You got Trevor Etienne, you got
Right.
Rico, Mr. Dowdle, and also Chuba Hubbard. Primary
Yeah.
of the guy is gonna be Chuba. Um, you know,
Yes. Yeah. So let's jump into the Panthers. To the Panthers draft here. So we'll parlay into
and
the
my
running back
boy is
situation.
there too. My boy, he's in his legacy year.
Oh God. All right. So the Panthers, they got a lot of fantasy relevant stuff going on here. First round, pick eight, the big pick, Tet McMillan, the number one wide receiver out of Arizona.
He doesn't
So
watch video.
he doesn't watch video. I was very, very surprised at this pick. I thought the Panthers could have used about 100 other things, but they decided to go wide receiver. Maybe because they're anticipating the demise slash fall of Tommy's favorite player. However, it's going to be good for Bryce Young. He's a dynamic player. I mean, I was really, really bullish on Xavier Legette. Does this affect him that much, or does this just mostly hurt Adam Thielen? Like,
Uh, I don't know. I mean, I don't think it hurts Adam Thielen. I think Thielen is just he's gonna be that flex play. That's what he is. I mean, not flex. Oh,
the slot guy?
slot guy. I think he's gonna play that slot. I mean, he's not an outside wide receiver. I mean, he plays outside sometimes, but where his bread and butter is within the slot. So I don't think it really affects him as much. He might not be on the field 100% all the time, but I think if he's on the field 70%, like
So
I
does
think
it
that's
affect
great.
Legette more then?
Leggett is he's a shifty player as well too. He's kind of like your Debo-esque kind of guy that's going to line up in the backfield and take some end around plays. Your wide receiver is McMillan, and he's your wide receiver player. Like he's your
Yeah,
atypical
he
wide
steps right in and
receiver.
he's the wide receiver one. Yeah,
I think so. I think so. And Jalen Coker also was very
I forgot about
valuable,
him.
as the season was going on. I mean, right now they have 13 wide receivers on their roster.
Oh, that won't last.
Seven are gonna find their way to the roster, and two or three of them are gonna find their way to the practice squad, and the remaining are gonna find their way either not on a team or on another roster.
Yeah. Second and third round, they got two edge rushers, two good ones, and then a fourth round, fourth round they draft Trevor Etienne, running back out of Georgia. Tommy's favorite running back out of college football. So
No.
here's my question to you. Um, we both feel really good about Chuba this year. I think that whatever other running back situation is going on behind Chuba is basically it's a non sequitur. It's not going to affect him enough to be at all
Yeah.
detrimental to his production, etc. Even though I kind of like Rico Suave, I just don't see that happening. Do you agree with him and with Trevor?
Yeah, I think that Chuba has a tremendous value, especially where he's being drafted in drafts, and he's always being drafted late in drafts. I mean, even if he's going in the fifth round, he's a starting running back that can finish in the top 12. So he's a number one, he's a number one value running back. He's not at that, top three tier. He's probably a tier four, but he's going to finish as a top 12 running back at the end of the year. Um, so I mean, he's a tough guy, and he's going to miss a couple games, but he's going to give you points when he's in there.
I, you're right. But there's no way. There's no way Chuba just isn't criminally underrated. Like it's just he's gonna be, and he's a great back. He really is. He really really is.
He's
It,
so underrated. I mean, last year he scored 10 touchdowns last year.
I know.
Almost 1,200 yards, 10 touchdowns. He had 43 receptions for 171 yards and a touchdown. I mean, you can't beat that for a fifth to sixth round
Right.
draft pick in regular drafts.
For a guy like him who's basically going in the dead zone, like it's just
Correct.
on an
That's what I'm
improving
saying.
team.
Like, if you're drafting and you're able to get him in the fifth round and you went, wide receiver happy for the first three rounds, got that baseline, and then you're able to get a couple running backs, and Chuba is one of those guys. That's a great position.
No, I couldn't agree with you more. Um, I got a funny question to ask you before we get on to the Saints here. So, for everybody who doesn't know, Mr. Tom here is located in South Carolina, and but he is from from the tri-state area up here, and is there
Originally,
originally
originally,
and
I
is
was
there
born there, and now I live here.
and is therefore a Giants fan, and I'm a Jets fan. However, I just wanted to ask down there, I know there's a lot of transplants, but would you be more based on location slash, I guess, culture, whatever, are there more Carolina fans there or Atlanta fans
Uh, there's more Atlanta fans.
from there than the
Yeah,
Panthers?
because I'm right on the border. I'm really literally 15 minutes from Savannah, Georgia. So I mean, you got
Gotcha.
a bunch of mixed people over here. But I mean, there might be more Giants fans than anybody else.
Right, because the transplants, etc.,
Correct.
and the Bills and all that. Okay. It's just a funny little thing. All right, let's move on to the Saints. This is gonna be fun. All right.
Bleh.
All right, so let's just quickly
I'd
mention
rather
the picks.
vomit than talk about the Saints.
All right, first round they pick the big tackle out of Texas. He's a good player. Second round they go the quarterback that we kind of were mentioning on our prior shows with everything else going on with Derek Carr and stuff. Second round they go quarterback Tyler Show. We'll get back to him. Third round and fourth round they go all defense. And they had two third round picks and they had two fourth round picks. So I will ask you again, Mr. Lang, who is the starting quarterback for the New Orleans Saints in 2025? Week one.
I think Spencer Rattler starts as starting quarterback.
I so disagree.
I mean, you're going for a guy that has played for multiple profiled schools and did fairly well last year. He had some really underperforming games, but he did fairly well last year. I mean, you're going to put a guy that has had one full season as a starting quarterback in college, shout basically 2019, 4 games, 2020, 7 games, 4 games, 2021, 7 games, 2022, 2023, 4 games, 2024, 12 games. I mean, he threw for 3,100, almost 3,200 yards, 23 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Um, I mean, I think the better start if you want to see if you can win is put Spencer Rattler out there.
but you're so partial to Rattler for all
I'm
of
not
the
saying
wrong
no, no,
reasons.
it's no. I think that if you have Chris Olave, you have Rashid Shaheed, you have Brandon Cooks, and then you have Jawan Johnson out there, I think there's enough talent on that wide receiver and catching crew to have basically Alvin Kamara be a super, super high profile player. He's a super high profile player, obviously automatically, but if you're looking to win, and not tank it, Spencer Rattler should be the starter.
But we watched him play. Like it was awful.
Yeah, but it was awful because of just the coaching was awful as well there too. There was just no system. I think
I,
I don't I just think and also not only there was there no system, but you had no Chris Olave, you had no Rashid Shaheed. There was no talent at that point outside of Alvin Kamara getting riled, basically just wrangled and mangled all over the place.
I'm gonna read you. I'm gonna read you the games in which Spencer Rattler started for the Saints last year. Here we go. Ready? Uh, at the Chargers, 12 for 24, no touchdowns. Home versus Washington, 10 for 21. At Green Bay, 15 for 30, zero touchdowns, one interception. Versus Las Vegas, 20 for 36, one touchdown, two interceptions. And then his best game, quote unquote, at Tampa Bay, who had no defense, 26 for 42, one touchdown. That was his best shot. His ratings in these are horrendous. He just looked bad on top of the. Now, you might be right about some of the stuff that you're saying. That okay, maybe some of the coaching wasn't the best. This is I forget when Dennis Allen was let go throughout the
It doesn't
season.
even matter. Even
Right.
the interim head coach was just horrendous.
Right. Either way, but that's that point is well taken. I'm just making the point to you is that they've seen some Rattler. He'll get it. Here's what they're going to do. They're going to give him a shot, but there's no way unless he performs unbelievable. There's no way. Like, and even during the offseason, they're going to give him a chance to
I
like
mean, the
actually
guy was
compete.
getting crushed. He had nobody open. He had MVS. That was it.
There's no way he's playing over. They drafted Tyler.
I
By the
don't.
way,
I will say this. I don't think if Spencer Rattler starts, I don't think he's the starter the entire year. I think that it's gonna be a mix of guys. I just if you want to put the best player out there that is going to fit the system right now, Spencer Rattler is the guy. Outside of that, I mean, then you could toy around with these other guys. But like, I don't know. I mean, I think if for fantasy relevant value, I mean they have a decent defense. They're
they
not the
do,
greatest.
and they have some good weapons too, and their
Yeah.
defense is good.
So,
Yeah,
but like the problem is, can they protect Spencer? Can they protect the quarterback? Can he not get crushed every single play?
I suppose I think my point is that I just think after they drafted Tyler Show in the second round, and considering that how old Tyler Show is, who's 26, we're about to be
Yeah.
26,
I
like
mean, he's almost ready to retire.
combined with how bad Rattler was last year, I just don't see how Show isn't going. And here's a better way to put it from Show. Do you see any difference in how we project out and how we think about the Saints' weapons based on if it's Show or Rattler, or do we see it exactly the same?
Uh, I
Because
mean,
I do.
I don't really see. Again, I'm not striving to draft, Olave or, if it falls and it happens in a late round, yeah. But like, I'm not like, if there's one person that I might feel okay with drafting, it's Alvin Kamara, but he's going to be literally
Right.
my third running back.
He would be in the fourth. So
Yeah,
I mean,
most likely the way I draft, he'll be my third running back.
well, possibly. Do you think how many wins do you give the Saints this year?
Under four.
Under four. If I gave you the over under was it's I don't know what it is on the sports books, but if I said over under 3.5, what would you do?
I wouldn't bet it.
I'm gonna look up the win total right now, actually. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I wouldn't bet it. I mean, if it's 5.5, then I'll take the under.
Oh, here we go. FanDuel has it set at 5.5 wins. I would take the under.
I take the under.
Yeah. I mean, I know your long-term thing is that you think the Saints are just going to be awful and they're essentially going to tank for Archie, right?
Arch Manning,
Play for the Saints
the
like his
second
grandfather
coming,
did.
the second coming of Arch Manning.
The second coming of Arch Manning. All right. All right, so that's the NFC South. Yeah, I see two really good teams, one competitive, two really good teams in the Bucs and the Falcons, a competitive team in the Panthers, and an absolute awful team in the Saints this coming year. It'll be interesting to see. I have the right now the Bucs are the favorites, but if I had to pick a winner for this coming year, I think I would take the Falcons because I think it's better odds. But
Uh, you can.
be fun. Okay, we'll leave it there. All right, so that's the NFC South. Let's get into a little bit of mock draft action. I'm going to prep it. Tommy, if you want to introduce us into this.
Yeah. So basically, we are switching it up a little bit. We're gonna have a little bit of fun with this one. We are doing Superflex League. Basically right now, about 20 to 25% of the consensus of fantasy football leagues are actually Superflex. So we're gonna do a little fun mock draft with this one. I will say. I've been in three Superflex leagues, and I've made it to the Super Bowl with a specific strategy I'm probably going to work with today every single time. So, I was going to tell you guys, if you play this straight and play this right, you could be a Super Bowl champion with Superflex. But it's full point PPR, two running backs, two wide receivers, a flex tight end running back, and wide receiver, and then you have your Superflex position. We are going to do 10 rounds, and we got to fill a roster. So, Billy is at number two. I am at number 11, and we are going to start this draft. So, Josh Allen goes number one overall.
Unsurprisingly, so Superflex drafts, obviously quarterbacks are severely inflated because you almost always want to put a quarterback in that Superflex position.
Almost always.
Almost always. All right, so in this case, there are basically three top tier quarterbacks coming off the board. I have no problem at all going with Lamar Jackson here at number two, and that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Then Joe Burrow goes, Jaden Daniels, Chase, Bijan, Jefferson, Barkley, Gibbs, Hurts, and I am on the clock.
Oh boy, no more,
Whew!
no more tier one or tier two quarterbacks for you.
So here at 11, obviously I have a couple choices, but I'm probably going to lean towards um, my second overall wide receiver that should be going off the board, which is CeeDee Lamb. So I'm going to take him here and not take a quarterback at my first position. Then after CeeDee Lamb, Brock Bowers goes and St. Brown goes, and I'm back on the clock. Full point PPR, two flex, two quarterback a play. Obviously, if you choose to utilize a quarterback in that super flex position, which it'd be very smart to do that. Um, so I've
You
like
better
I
go
like I,
quarterback here.
what's
Yeah,
that?
you better go quarterback here. You're going to put yourself in a
Maybe
bad
I
position.
don't have to go quarterback here because I've won a number of leagues. Well, actually, two leagues. I came in second place in the Super Bowl with this strategy that I'm going to continue to do because it's not broken. I have my number one wide receiver. I have looking for another player to pick, and I'm going to take actually with this pick right here, Malik Neighbors. And
Yeah, so we're doing a bad job of explaining to everybody like who's went before, but I'm gonna pick out who I'm gonna grab here. Yeah, by the way, for this Superflex, we're not really gonna announce everything. People can check it out on our YouTube channel. Because we got to be kind of quick for this situation. All right, so in this case, no quarterbacks went in the second round. I could double up and go quarterback again, but then I'd be kind of kind of like dominating, like it's definitive in that way. And there's also some better quarterbacks later. And considering Team One already has a quarterback, I might be able to get one on the way back. So in this case, since John T went, I'm going to do my thing in that I think the top of the tier two running backs is still on the board for me. I'm going to go Christian McCaffrey.
And Derrick Henry goes, and then Bo Nix, and then you're back on the clock.
And I'm back on the clock. Now at this point, Mahomes is still on the board. It remains to be seen how well we think their offense is going to be. I'm not as bullish currently as to where he is, but again, there are some good quarterbacks to be gotten on the way back. I think I might leave him by the wayside. Some of the wide receivers I'm looking at are AJ Brown, Marvin Harrison. I'm not feeling AJ Brown, Marvin Harrison. Do I feel that they're going to make a comeback, or that he's going to take a step forward? JSN extremely low on. So already going on. If I double up on running back, we're low on Bucky Irving. We're feeling pretty good about Jonathan Taylor and Josh
I mean, we're
Jacobs.
not low on Bucky Irving. We're just low
Co-
on the value he's being drafted right now.
we're lower than consensus. Is
Yeah.
probably how we should word it. So all that having been said, I think at this point, and we said this is 6 point touchdown.
Yes.
I'm gonna take my second. I'm gonna take my second quarterback, and I'm gonna go Baker Mayfield here.
Interesting. Then Patrick Mahomes goes, AJ Brown, Irving goes, Herbert goes, Taylor, Jacobs, Harrison, and JSN goes, and I'm back on the clock. So there are some quarterbacks that I am really looking to draft, but guess what? I'm not drafting one yet. Um, there's some
Moronic.
great talent out there. I do need some running backs to fill my roster. And the first running back to find his way to my roster will be Kyron Williams. Then then Caleb Williams goes, Brees Hall goes, and I'm back on the clock. I need to look at that quarterback position. But you know what the funny thing about that is, unless people are going to go three quarterbacks and just completely screw away those skilled positions, there's one, two, three teams that have two quarterbacks. There's one, two, three, four teams, including myself, that do not have a quarterback. Actually, no, five teams that doesn't have a quarterback. So I'm looking if I kind of wait slightly, I can really put myself into kind of like the Goff, Love, Prescott, um, Trevor Lawrence, who's going to have a lot of talent around him this year, range. So I could just slightly wait a little bit longer. I think we'll find out. But I am going to take another running back. And the running back that I'm looking at right now, based on talent, is Mr. James Cook. I'm going to take him with my running back two position. So I got CD, Neighbors, Kyron Williams, Jared Cook. Then after that, Hampton goes, May goes, which was not actually projected before any of those other guys. Brown, Wilson, McLaurin, CJ Stroud goes, Laporta, and Tyreek Hill is off the clock, off the table, and then basically Bill is on the clock.
Yeah, so I'm back on the clock here. So coming back, I'm initially looking at wide receiver, of which I'm not crazy about the guys next on the ADP list. I've already gone on a tirade about the Bengals, so T. Higgins will be I don't want him to be my wide receiver one. Rashee Rice, again, looking good, but has the suspension looming. Tet McMillan, number one receiver in Panthers. What does that mean? Mike Evans not happening, and we're predicting the end. Some guys a little bit later on in the draft, I'm feeling just a little bit better at versus what their ADP is. I could try to grab I could try to lock up the running back situation in the fourth round, grab that Alvin Kamara, which is exactly what I'm going to do. And like we
Mixon
said,
goes, Higgin goes, and you're back on the clock.
and I'm back on the clock here. So with Higgins going off the board, that gives me a shot here. Now, fifth round, I always make the thing. If the fifth round is available, grab George Kittle. However, this is a super flex league
And full point PPR.
and full point PPR. So I'm gonna have to. I really need to get a wide receiver here. I need to bolster the room. I'm not confident that guys that I really love are gonna make their way back. So of the guys that are the highest along the ADP list, I am most okay with DJ Moore. I am
There you
okay with
go.
him being a wide receiver one, and that's the route that I'm going to go.
All right.
Following DJ Moore, Rashee Rice is off the board. Then Kyler, Jordan Love. There goes the George Kittle. Tet McMillan, Devontae Smith, Jared Goff is off. Trevor Lawrence is off, and now Tommy's in a bad position now because he's
Oh,
hope.
Tommy is not in a bad position. You know why? Because Tommy feels so good about a quarterback that is still there.
Right, that's
And
one
I can
quarterback. Yeah,
and I can pair my quarterback with my wide receiver in CeeDee Lamb, and I'm going to go Dak Prescott. Think it's a big, massive year for Dak Prescott. Then after that, Mike Evans goes, and Trevion Henderson goes right after that. Um, and I'm back on the clock. There is another quarterback sitting right there in Mr. Brock Purdy, but I may just say, let's go with a running back and just continue the slamming. And we talked about this guy today. His name is Mr. Chuba Hubbard. I feel really, really
yep.
confident and comfortable drafting him at this position right here in the sixth round in a super flex. So I'm going to take the finishing number 12 running back last year, Chuba Hubbard, in a half point PPR, and take him with my pick right there.
Okay, I believe you.
Then Travis Hunter goes.
Xavier Worthy. I was
Xavier
hoping he would
Worthy,
make it
Brock
back.
Purdy goes. Judkins, Harvey, basically Denver's running back, rookie running back. Devontae Adams goes. Walker, Flowers, and Billy is on the clock.
If I knew that Odunze would have made it back, then I might have thought differently about my picks. I'm not going to be doubling up two
Yeah, I
Chicago
mean, but
wide
you could take
receivers.
DK. You could take DK Metcalf here with Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer throwing the ball.
Yeah, these are things that I could do. They are not things that I will do. So, lots of options here. I am more that I'm gonna just take a look here. I know I really, really want to go wide receiver. Metcalf, to his point, he's available, but we don't know the quarterback situation. I'm not feeling good about Pickens in Dallas. Olave, the Saints are going to be awful. Jameson Williams is a great option, going to be explosive. Yeah, I'm definitely looking at him, and I'm also looking at Cortland Sutton. We don't currently have our tiers set, so I'm not entirely certain about how I see either of them as a thing. Also, should be noted that Chris Godwin is coming to be available. He's a little bit farther down the list. I have a feeling I'll be able to get him. So, for the sake of ADP, I'm going to go Jameson Williams. And if Cortland Sutton's available on the way back, I'll consider him. So, let's go Jameson Williams, get some explosiveness. Rome Odunze is off the board. TJ Hawkinson's off the board. And now my other pick. So I could bolster my wide receiver room or I could bolster running backs. In terms of running backs, Montgomery's available. Always, going to be underrated. He's tried and true.
You know what
Um,
I noticed actually, Billy? You
what?
didn't get George Kittle this draft.
I
Boo-hoo.
had a whole conversation about it. I was like,
I know
in a
I
super
wasn't
flex,
paying
I didn't
attention.
need. Yeah, I don't blame you. So, given the running back situation, I'm going to. I'm feeling. I already love Cortland Sutton so much. I feel like I got a steal here in Cortland Sutton this late in a super flex PPR. I'm going
Well,
Cortland
I
Sutton.
appreciate you not taking my buddy. So,
Um,
so after Sutton goes, Metcalf goes, Johnson from Pittsburgh goes, David Montgomery goes 7-5.
mhm.
Um, Justin Fields, Cam Ward, Pickens, Olave, James Conner goes 7-10, and I'm back on the clock. Um, This is an interesting position right here because there are a number of great plays, especially, when you're doing a super flex. I feel like there's really great ways to bolster your skill player positions and take a really big roll of the dice with, uh, you know, back end quarterbacks later in the draft. The only problem is when you do a super flex, you can't wait so long, like the 11th, 12th round, because you're talking about backup quarterbacks at that point, atypically, or the 31, and 32 quarterbacks who are going to find their way and rotate. And, obviously, you may be able to find a quarterback on waiver wires as the season goes on based on injury, but you don't want to play that way. So Um, I am not taking a quarterback right now. But because right now the way it's falling right now, I do have two quarterbacks I'm kind of eyeballing right now. There are some valued positions that are still available and out there. Um, one player that I'm really looking at is obviously because we have to fill the roster, basically before the 10th round ends. Travis Kelce is somebody that I've been looking at, obviously in a number of drafts. He is my least favorite player in the NFL, but
But your favorite fantasy
he's
football
going
player
to
this
be my
offseason.
favorite fantasy football player this year. I'm going to take Mr. 16 touchdowns, Travis Kelce. Then after
Uh,
that,
I know if you
JJ
say it, you like
McCarthy, and
will it
then
to
and then
happen.
JJ McCarthy goes right after that, and then his tailback, who's right behind him, actually goes to the same team. AJ, basically, Aaron Jones goes to the same team, same quarterback, same team, right there. And then I am back on the clock. Um,
This is like your
again,
favorite draft ever here.
this is amazing. The next pick, obviously, I'm trying to lean to obviously pick my quarterback here because we have to fill our roster. I can wait slightly. I have two more rounds basically where I can pick my quarterback. But actually, I'm going to wait. I'm going to take Chris Godwin here, because I knew Billy was going to take him on the way back.
I would
And
have it.
roll the dice with, potentially, hopefully, nobody takes a third quarterback. After Chris Godwin goes, then Waddle goes, Judy goes, Brees Young goes, Warren from Indianapolis goes, tight end, Addison, Pacheco, Tracy, and Mark Andrews, who probably is going to be likely to finish higher than Mark Andrews this year. So that's just,
Yep.
point out
All right,
there.
so for the sake of the draft, we're filling out a full roster, leaving in the 10th, and so we know our rule. I drafted McCaffrey earlier, which leaves me I have to draft Garendo, which I'll draft him in the 10th for the sake of this draft. So that leaves me two picks, one of which definitely has to be a tight end. I've already decided that I'm basically punting the tight end position, so I'll get him in a few picks on my way back before I grab Garendo in the 10th. So that means here I can, like, for the sake of bolstering a team, I need to go running back or perhaps a quarterback, but I think I need to go running back to bolster my roster before I close it out with Garendo. So, like we just talked about, at this point, there's some dead zone running backs who are feeling good compared to where they're going.
Ooh, I
Top
know where you're going.
top on the list here is Brian Robinson,
Ugh.
who we just spoke about. Um, and I might have considered Swift here, considering he's got the whole backfield to himself. However, I've already invested in a in a Chicago wide receiver, so you don't want to just double up unnecessarily in certain offenses. So I'll keep it easy. I'm going to go Brian Robinson here.
That's a nice pick.
Following Robinson, Ridley went, Pollard went, and so that leaves me. I got to pick my tight end here, and at this point, I'm not even really looking at ADP per se. I just
Get
want
out
to
of here. We know who you're picking. Come on.
so I just want to point out that, and I've talked about it this offseason about there's some guys that I'm targeting if you're making the punt decision at the tight end position. There's definitely some guys in late rounds. I was feeling very good about Juwan Johnson up until the Derek Carr situation. So until that kind of declares what's going to happen, I can always pick up Juwan Johnson later on waivers if needed. But for now, one of my darling
For
players is
now,
still here.
I have to pick Jonnu Smith in the ninth round.
I could grab a little Jonnu Smith here. He happens to be at the top of the ADP, but you know what? I'm not going to go that route.
Yeah,
I'm going to go.
okay.
I'm going to go Dalton Kincaid
Well,
as my tight
that
end here.
is that
Uh,
is
f-
that is ridiculously dumb. After that, after Kincaid
oh,
goes,
stop it. Hey,
Swift goes.
let me announce it so
Yeah,
that
wait,
you can.
perfect, perfect. Actually, it worked. It all worked. All right, you can announce it though.
Yeah, go ahead. I already know who he's picking. So he after Kincaid went, Swift is off the board. Loveland, Jonnu Smith, Ayuk, Michael Penn 15, who that's from now on, that's his nickname.
10-15.
Uh, Travis Etienne, Ricky Pearsall, Jaden Reed, the number one wide receiver in Green Bay, and now of course Tommy's back on the
You
board.
know what? You know what's funny about seeing Travis. I know again, there's different. perspectives on how the draft strategies and the ADPs are with this. But seeing Travis Etienne go 9-8 is like so that's ridiculous. I mean, that's so much value right there. I think he's going to have a really nice season this year with the new coaching staff there. To be honest, after watching some of the OTA practices, I think that that roster is really coming together. And it's a weak division as well too. So. With this pick, and this is a scary pick, but he is my technically my quarterback two that I'm going to be drafting right now. Tua obviously coming off of the injuries, and it is obviously a scary pick, but he is my super flex play. Um, I have no problem taking him here, but with me taking him here, I have to take another shot potentially at quarterback, either next round or later in the draft. If this was going a 15 round draft, I most likely would have three starting quarterbacks on my roster for taking Tua. So I'm gonna take Tua here with my 9-11 position. After that, Golden goes, who actually is the starting. He's going to be the wide receiver one for the Green Bay Packers over Jaden Reed. So
Oh,
that's a
stop it.
great pick right there at 9-12. And then Ibuka goes to Tampa Bay wide receiver from Ohio State. And I am back on the clock. Now, again, most likely, if I was to take another quarterback here, I'm losing position I'm losing an opportunity in taking a skilled player position. Um, I can potentially wait to the 11th, 12th round because those quarterbacks are not really going to fly off the board anymore. A lot of the skill position players will be really the primary focus. Um, Here in this draft, I do think that there are some still great talents. Especially in a in a format where right now I have three running backs, three wide receivers. I have a tight end. I have two quarterbacks. Um, if I was to continue, I'd most likely, I think, running backs will come off the board a little bit faster in the next coming round. So I'm kind of tying myself between a Najee Harris, who is I think is a great pick right here. You got Jalen Warren, who's a great pick, I think, as well too, and then. Starting running back for the Dallas Cowboys, Javonte Williams. But do I want to put all my balls in one court? Again, Javonte Williams will be my running back four. So do I take it there? I don't know.
I don't see how, for the sake of this draft, especially from an explanation perspective, you don't take a quarterback here. Because remember, like you've got Tua as your as a starting quarterback for you here. Tua might not even make it through the season,
That's fine. And like I said, I
right?
mean,
Like,
I have to take a quarterback. If I don't take one now, I have to take a quarterback, basically 11, 12. But we're not going to that round. And so I
mhm.
think right now, value wise, and one of these players will not make it to that next round. Um, or they may, but I know I said I had to go running back, but I think I'm going to go wide receiver and do something I haven't done this year yet. I know unfortunately, I'm going to surpass on Khalil Shakir, but I'm going to take a shot on Cooper Kupp in the tenth round.
Okay. Well, this will be pretty easy to get through. So after Cup, Njoku, Samuel, Ingram, Najee Harris, Jacoby Myers, who I'm really high on this year, Luther Burden, Jawan Jennings, Zach Charbonnet, and then with my pick, I've already called it out. I'll be picking Isaac Rendo. You can probably get him later, but for the sake of the draft, I'll get him. And so there we go. That is our drafts. Let me call out my roster here. So with the roster, I've got Lamar Jackson as my starting quarterback. Baker Mayfield is my super flex. Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, superstar duo at running back, especially from a couple years ago, but they'll be all right this year. DJ Moore, Jamison Williams at wide receiver. My tight end is Dalton Kincaid, and I've got Cortland Sutton, Cortland Sutton is my regular flex, and I got Brian Robinson on my bench. What about you?
So I got Mr. Superstar Dak Prescott with a connection to CD Lamb, which is a great connection. I think this coming year, if they're all healthy, I think it's a great starting, basically opportunity. Two running backs, Kyron Williams, James Cook. Malik Neighbors, obviously with CD Lamb, Travis Kelce, tight end position, and then I have Tua as my super flex. Again, Tua as a super flex is very scary. Again, you have to go and grab another quarterback in that 11, 12th round. You can't really go into the season with two of those guys, and you need a third quarterback if you're going to draft Tua based on the injuries. Then I got Chuba Hubbard, also Chris Godwin, and also Cooper Kupp as my 10-2 pick. That's a championship roster right there. That's a championship team.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, it's a championship team.
yep,
Uh,
championship team.
for the Superflex crowd.
Yep, yep.
But yeah, but there we go. Hopefully we're doing a good job doing the explanations on all the individual guys. Um, I'm very happy to announce to everybody that once we get through our look at the draft and our early looks at some of the divisions, we're really going to start getting into fantasy relevant stuff as it pertains to prepping people for the draft. So we'll get into that stuff in a couple weeks. But we got a lot of good stuff planned for everybody in the off season. Any other thoughts, sir?
Yeah, no, we appreciate everybody who takes time to watch the video. If you could please share, subscribe, and again, tell your grandparents, your moms, your dads, everybody to tune in to FFU. We will bring championships home to every single one of your hometowns. All
Yes, we will. All right. Thank you, everybody.
right, have a good night.